Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, your sad agent of sentimentality today. Yesterday, we got the news that Ace Frehley had passed on, returning to from whence he came, or going into the void, if you will. So, this is just a little short video, extra video for Zenorama here, and possibly GD explanations once I run it by Lilith. But I just wanted to do mention it because I do play the guitar and he was a major influence on me. And not at first because of his guitar playing, but because they were, you know, he dressed like that. He looked like a superhero. They were costumes, they were alter egos. I didn't know anything about the band when I first saw them and heard them in 1976, 75, probably with Kiss Alive. I've told this story in the past, but they just their music was better than I thought it would be, which was I didn't understand a lot of it. I was a young naive agent, but I got into it, and of course, the Destroyer album was the first one I bought. Yeah, and there's Ace's solo album. We're just going to go through some pictures here. There's his Destroyer costume. To me, that is the ultimate Kiss outfit. They're my favorites. I do like, of course, I like all of their costumes. They're all very innovative. Even the Dynasty ones, which are a little over the top, showboaty, but so is Dynasty and Unmasked and etc. But when I started playing guitar and wanting to learn even a little lead, Ace is the one. And the more I learned about it, of course, the more I learned about it, the more I learned how his playing was very rock and roll. He was not always perfect. In fact, some people have called him sloppy, but say that about Eddie Van Halen as well. Ace had obviously his problems with substances in the past, and he'd been clean now. He was born April 27th, 1951, and passed away yesterday, October 16th, 2025. Paul Daniel Ace Frehley, as they say, but I've heard it. No one pronounces it properly. And he was the one. There he is. Most recently, not most recently, but in the first incarnation of the band, and their first costumes, and then his Love Gun outfit. I never got to see them on their first go round. I did see them in '96, and well, anyway, I liked his personality. From what I saw, he was just funny, and nobody's had anything bad to say about him now. Anyway, I mean, I'm sure he had his moments where he was human, because we all are only human, and you never know what anyone's going through any given day. And so I'd like to have played some of his songs. It is 7-Song Friday, and that opening clip was from 10,000 Volts from his newest album, which I really enjoyed, at least this song. Just a little more of it there. And I really enjoyed it just because Ace just never quit making music. He rejoined the band again in '96 and left in 2000. That's when I did see them. And he was on fire then. He still played the same, but he sang more. He sang a verse of Cold Gin, which he wrote, and then Shock Me and New York Groove, which was technically past the time frame they were presenting themselves, but that doesn't matter. I would have liked to have heard, Talk to Me, or A Dark Light from The Elder, which no one ever plays. Speaking of The Elder, there's his Elder outfit, which I think is very simplistic and very well done. And if you want to hear him play, how good he was, listen to his solo on the live version of The Oath that they played on Fridays, which is just amazing. And then, of course, they were in the movie, which is, in '78, which is a 13-year-old agent I just couldn't get enough of because I was desperate to see them. And, I didn't know the behind the scenes that the band was imploding and they were unhappy. All of them, really. They've been touring for too long. I mean, back then, you really couldn't go do solo albums. They were the first ones that kind of did that. Said, okay, we'll separate, do a solo out, 4 solo albums, and then we'll come back in a year after we haven't had to tour for a while. And it was mostly successful due to things that were going on. But I really enjoyed the movie then. I still like it even for what it is, though I will watch Attack of the Phantoms because it's shorter and more cohesive. And Ace is charming in that when he's there and not his doubles. So there's their 96 reunion tour, which is where I did see him. And as I said, it's just he's got a couple of children that have been around. I mean, the tributes have been pouring in from everyone. I'm not going to be able to top any of the people that did know him, but the fact that guitarists and vocalists alike, all of them just said what an influence he was. And he's quite an innovative guitarist. He was not, as one of my friends once said, a fast finger Freddie, like, a shredder. And I'm glad he wasn't. His solos fit the songs he played. He sang the song, and his songwriting, especially when he was around Paul, who was an excellent songwriter, improved. And then when he had, sometimes this stuff would be, more about women and substances, and sometimes they weren't. I mean, Rock Soldiers is a great song, very 80s sounding, but he had a story to tell and he tells it. So I'm sorry that the band couldn't work things out the way they wanted to, but I could see why that happened. They grew in different directions and weren't the same 4 hungry kids from 72 and 73. Now, this is the reason, why I also got into the band, because if they were good enough for Marvel Comics, that'd be good enough for me. And I still have my copy. It's a little battered and beat up because I read it a lot. There's the back, and it's not the best quality, but I just wanted to see. It was set directly in the Marvel Universe, which I also liked. But look at them. They're superheroes. They looked like a team. They eventually fought like a team, and it was a lot of fun. And the comic book is what sealed the deal. Oddly enough, they were in their Love Gun costumes by the time this comic book came out, but that's all right. There's Ace, definitely from back in the day. And there's the first album. So it's just a short little tribute to him. For all my friends, Dale and Charles and my brother Eric, even my cousin Ron Bill, Penny, that I've known and shared my love with the band. We all are thinking about him and his family, and hope that they are doing all right. So until our next assignment, which will be coming up shortly and not have really anything to do with music, it's just I will do a better tribute to him on our next, maybe next week on the 7-Song Friday. We'll do a Ace Frehley tribute when it's not quite as fresh. But that's there you go. So my fellow agents, thank you for your indulgence, and we'll let Ace play you out here until our next assignment, next 7. Signing off.